Hey friends, we're delighted to share insights from Troy, a listener like you, a friend from our Two Guys, a Girl in F1 community, who attended the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix. For some of his traveling companions, this was their first time experiencing Formula One in person. We're grateful that Troy was able to send us these race notes to read on his behalf, fostering the sense of community we value so much in our listener base. Travel and logistics. The journey. Troy's group of 6 made quite the adventure of their Belgian Grand Prix weekend. The party was a fascinating mix of F1 fandom spanning generations. Some fans since the 1980s, 2 newcomers in their 20s who only became fans during the Drive to Survive era, and only 2 had attended a Grand Prix before. Transportation and accommodation. They traveled by car from the UK, a 12-hour drive including the Channel Tunnel crossing. The group stayed in an Airbnb and drove to the circuit each day, utilizing the park and ride shuttle service from Malmedy, which Troy reports was very efficient. Circuit location and seating. Their grandstand seats were in Silver 3, positioned on the outside of the double left at Pouhon on the downhill section. This location provided excellent views of both the entry to the first left and the exit from the second turn, allowing for detailed comparison of car control, driving styles, and racing lines. First-time visitor reactions. The reality of Spa. Troy was particularly struck by how the circuit affected even seasoned television viewers. He notes, quote, "New visitors were in awe, even the fans from the 80s. Despite having watched over 30 Grand Prix on TV each, they were unprepared for how steep everything is in real life, as I was the first time." End quote. The shock of scale. The Kemmel Straight proved to be about as steep as Troy had believed Eau Rouge to be, while Eau Rouge itself was described as, quote, "mind-blowing," end quote, generating, quote, many explicitives from the group upon seeing it in person. A memorable perspective moment. One moment particularly stood out for Troy. While watching the F2 race from the general admission at Blanchimont, one of his party pointed to what appeared to be a building on a distant mountainside and asked, "What is that up there?" When Troy explained it was the grandstand at Le Combe, the group was amazed. Quote, "They seemed so far away and high up. It seemed impossible that they were part of the same circuit that we were standing beside," end quote. Physical demands. Troy emphasizes the significant walking involved. Quote, "There is a lot of walking. Circuit in a forest on a mountain, but we got our steps in," end quote. Weather and race conditions. Weekend weather. The weather was reasonably good and sunny throughout the weekend, with one notable exception, race day. Race start delay. The race start presented significant challenges. Troy's group sat in the stands for 80 minutes waiting for the start. During this time, the wet race conditions gradually became dry. From Troy's trackside perspective, quote, "That first exploratory lap at 3 p.m. did not seem that wet. Most of the field were on inters. From the outside, we were all baffled as to why the race was not starting," end quote. Troy acknowledges his limitations in understanding the delay. Quote, "I'm looking forward to seeing some coverage analysis that will tell me why they couldn't start at 3 p.m. End quote. Sprint weekend format feedback. Mixed generational reactions. This was Troy's second sprint weekend experience, and his assessment reveals fascinating generational divides and fan preferences that mirror the broader F1 evolution. Veteran fan perspective. Troy and his old school friends maintain their strong preference for traditional race weekends. He explains, quote, "It feels very rushed to me, and there is less time to watch the cars on track. The compressed schedule particularly affected the experience at Spa, where the very short session times in sprint qualifying coupled with long lap times at Spa meant that people were really only doing one run," end quote. This observation highlights a key challenge with sprint weekends at longer circuits. The combination of extended lap times and shortened sessions can significantly reduce the amount of actual track action fans witness, especially during qualifying sessions. Younger fan response. In contrast, The younger members of their party, those who became fans during the Drive to Survive era, seemed to enjoy the sprint format much more than the veterans. This suggests that the format may indeed be achieving its intended goal of appealing to newer audiences. Comparison to traditional format. Troy fondly recalls last year's traditional race weekend at Spa, which provided more opportunities for extended viewing and a less compressed schedule. He wondered what the younger members of his party would have thought of that format, noting thoughtfully, quote, "We don't all like the same things!" Exclamation point, end quote. This generational split in sprint weekend preferences offers valuable insight into F1's ongoing challenge of serving both longtime fans who prefer traditional formats and newer fans who may be drawn to a more condensed, action-packed weekends. On-track performance analysis. Driving styles through Pouhon. From his excellent vantage point at Silver 3, Troy was able to observe distinct differences in how drivers approach the challenging Pouhon section. This double left corner complex on the downhill section of Spa is one of the most technically demanding sequences on the calendar, and Troy's grandstand position provided the perfect viewing angle to compare car control, driving styles, and racing lines between the entry to the first left and the exit from the second turn. The nature of Pouhon, a high-speed corner that demands precise balance between commitment and car control, served as an excellent showcase for separating the truly exceptional drivers from the rest of the field. Troy could observe not just who was fastest, but how each driver achieved their pace through this critical section. Top performers, McLaren and Verstappen. Quote, "The McLarens and Max seemed to be able to drive wherever they liked and were on the power early, which we expected." End quote. Surprise performer, Haas. Quote, "But Haas also looked fantastic through our section." End quote. Struggling teams, Mercedes and Ferrari. Quote, "It was noticeable that Mercedes and Ferrari were doing a lot more work to hustle the car through the corner, the Mercedes looking like a real handful." End quote. Rookie assessment. Troy was impressed with the rookie drivers. Quote, "Of the rookies, Bearman and Hadjar looked strong from the trackside." End quote. Troy concludes with an apology and explanation. Quote, "Sorry, I didn't get to record. I never really got a quiet moment to myself. Sending all of you my best wishes." End quote. We want to echo Troy's sentiment and extend this invitation to all of our listeners. Whether you're attending races in person like Troy or watching from home, we welcome you to share your thoughts and experiences with our community. Send us an email, Sabrina@2guysagirlandf1.com, to let us know when you have insights you'd like to share. We want all friends of this community to feel welcome to contribute their perspective and help us build the inclusive, knowledgeable F1 community we're all passionate about. So thank you, Troy, for these valuable insights from Trackside at one of Formula One's most challenging and spectacular circuits. Your observations help bring the gap between what we see on television and the reality of experiencing Formula One in person, something that benefits fans at every level of engagement with our sport.